What's up, YouTubeverse? It's time. ELD. And what is it? What does it mean? How does it work? Let's find out. ELD is the electronic logging device, or electronic logging system. It replaced the paper, which, for those that didn't know, we used to be able to do paper logs, and then everybody would do like multiple lines of coke and have 4 or 5 logbooks because they wanted to run for 4,000 or 5,000 miles a piece, just straight go, and end up having wrecks, killing people, accidents, whatever. So how did they fix that? They fixed it by coming up with an electronic logging device. The electronic logging device is attached to your truck, and it prevents you from running in multiple logbooks. It doesn't really prevent you from cheating. There are ways to cheat, but it's harder. So let's take a look at an ELD used by my company, and I can explain basic hours of service. So here we have a basic ELD device. What we're concerned with is the ELD right here. So let's go ahead and touch ELD, and it's going to bring up my hours of service. If you see right here, it says 0, no drive time. Now the USA is a setting inside because Canadian drivers work on different than US drivers. So I'm a US driver, it's designated there. But let's take a look and see what we've got. We're going to bring up our graph so we can look. Now, there's our graph. And if you look, you see 4 lines. Line 1 is your on duty. It's the very bottom line right here. This is your on duty time for the day, and you can see I got some on duty time here, and there. All right, that on duty time is where I'm actually doing something for the company, not driving the truck. It could be like this one, pre-trip, right here where I was delivering or picking up, and over here where I got fuel, and then over here I was doing something else. All right, so that's line 1. It's on duty. At your shipper, getting fuel, pre-trip, maybe a consignee, whatever. Here we go, line 2. Your drive line. That's the time you've been driving. If you look over here, it tells you what you had, for that day. So I've got 26 minutes of on duty, 8 hours, 46 minutes of driving. And then you go to one right above it, sleeper berth. No sleeper berth time, because I messed up last night, but I'll explain that in a minute. So sleeper berth is line 3. Line 4, off duty. All right, so line 3 is sleeper berth. If I'm back in the back in the sleeper berth, I should be in sleeper berth. Right, line 4, which is off duty, that's just what it says. You're off duty. You're not doing anything. You could be in the front seat, enjoying your break, whatever. Right, so there's line 4. Now there is a line 5 built into the line 4. The line 5 is your off-duty driving. All I'm going to say about off-duty driving is refer to your own company's policy. So what does it mean for your ELD? Well, you have to refer back to your basic hours of service. That logging is just recording what you need to know to function on day to day. All right, so you need to know what a 70, a 14, 11, and an 8 are, and a 30. So let's break it down Barney style. If you draw a calendar and go from Sunday to Sunday, it's 8 days. Right? And in those 8 days, you have 70 hours to work. That's it. No getting around it. Okay? Those 8 days we're going to break down into 1-day intervals. So on Sunday, you're going to come out and go to work on Sunday. Well, you got 14 hours from the minute you start your clock. So you go out and you put all your stuff in your truck, you're ready to go. Let's do a pre-trip. And you go in there and you start logging your pre-trip. You're going to go put yourself on duty, right? And I'll show you guys a duty change here in just a minute. But you're going to put yourself on duty and you're going to make an annotation. That annotation is going to say pre-trip. And when you do that, right, you're making a digital entry in your logbook telling DOT when they look at it that it was at this time that I did a pre-trip. And we'll get to that in a minute. From the minute you put on duty, your clock just starts. In the U.S., under your hours of service rules, you have 14 hours to work. Okay? 14 from the time you start to the time you're done. That's it. Now, out of that 14, you can't drive all 14. It's not legal. 11. That is the most you can drive in a 14-hour period. 8 is the amount of hours that you can drive consecutive. So you drive for 6 hours, you take a 30-minute break, you can then drive for another 5. Okay? You have to have a 30-minute break in there, and I'll explain how that works in a minute, but so far we're tracking. You got to have a 30-minute break in the first 8 hours you drive, and after you do that, you get your time back. Okay? So that's the 70. That's the amount of hours you got to work in an 8-hour period or 8-day period. 14, the amount of hours you got in every day to work, and that's every day. It does change though. We'll explain that in a minute. 11, the amount of hours you can drive. 8, the amount of hours you can drive consecutive before you need to take a 30-minute break. So let's go over each. As we're sitting here and you're looking at this, okay, let's do a duty status change. Now, this is not going to be the same for everybody, but you can get a pretty good deal for it. So we're going to go back to our main screen there. Come on, go back to screen. All right, now I want to change my duty status. I want to go back to sleeper. So I'm going to go over here and hit my duty status, and I'm going to go sleeper berth. I'm going to put break next, and now that's the way that works, right? I'm going to go to logs right here. I want you guys to see that right here. Logs. I want to go to events and scroll all the way down to the very last event. Right there, see it says sleeper berth, right? That I did it. Well, I'm going to come over here and hit, I'm going to touch it. Touch the screen like I just did, right? And it turned gray. I'm going to come over here and hit annotate. So hit the annotate button. I'm going to put in here sleeper break. And then in my parentheses, training. And then I hit submit. Now if you look, it even says it right there, the note I put in. Okay? You got to do that. You got to put those notes in there. Okay? And by putting that note in there, you're letting DOT look at it, and they're going to go, okay, he was in sleeper berth, da-da-da training, and that's more for me. And if he asks, I can tell him I was making a video on how to do this. Okay? We're not driving, so that's all right. So now we're going to hit done. And that's it, right? So now we're in sleeper berth. That's how you do a duty status, a duty status change. So let's find the advantages. Are there advantages to doing the ELD on this over paper? Well, yeah. The very first major advantage is you log as you go. On paper logs, everything was broken down by 15-minute intervals. On electronic logs, they're broken down to the minute. All right, if you do an 11-minute pre-trip, it's 11 minutes. That's it. That's the on-duty time you used, 11 minutes. You didn't use 15. Because on paper, you had to log by 15-minute intervals. All right, fuel. If fuel takes 6 minutes, you log 6 minutes. Okay? It's also important to understand that you log as you go. And by saying that means when I go up to a fuel island, right, if I pull into the Loves, and it's 3 trucks deep, well, the minute I stop and I'm in line and I pull the brakes, I'm off duty, right? And I'm going to stay off duty until it's my turn in the fuel island. When I pull forward all the way up and I'm looking out and there's the fuel island, guess what? I can then put myself on duty, fuel, right? Because that's one of the quick picks is fuel. And then as soon as I'm done fueling, I can put myself off duty. If it takes 5 minutes, I log 5 minutes. If it takes 7 minutes, I log 7. But it doesn't take 15. So you're saving time there every day. Every day. Now, log as you go and be honest. That's the big thing. Now, when you arrive at a shipper and you arrive at a consignee, right, we're going to get rid of the work. We're either picking up a load or we're getting rid of a load. You got to log that time. But you log it as you go. So it's real simple. I show up, I hit the gate, on duty, unloading, or loading, whichever one I'm doing. And then I turn it around and go on duty yard moves because I got to drive somewhere and I don't want to sit there and, put myself on the drive line because I need to be on duty for this. So we have a duty status called on duty yard moves. You just move around the yard less than 20 miles an hour, and it logs it as on duty time. These things help you to conserve your drive line, because you got to remember, you get paid to drive. Everything else, man, we're not LTL. You get paid to drive, so protect your drive line. Log as you go, be accurate, and annotate everything. That's important. So let's go ahead and look down here. We're going to annotate ourselves back to off duty. So we're going to go to duty status. If you look right here, you got different duty statuses. On duty, let's click on duty. Now I'm not on duty because I have to hit OK. But if you look right here, it says fueling, loading, unloading, and inspection. I used to put inspection for pre-trip. Don't do that. That inspection tab is actually if you're actually getting an inspection done, DOT inspection. If you're going to do pre-trip, you have to do a note or an annotation like I just did going into sleeper berth. Okay, so we're going to go back, duty status, on duty, not driver, right? That's more for our trainers and whatnot. You have sleeper berth, on duty, this is the one I was just telling you about, yard moves, right? You put in there and it'll ask for an annotation, and usually I just put drop and hook or to whatever door they're sending me, whatever the deal is. Off duty, personal convenience, we've already talked about that a little bit. Go by your company's policy. I will put a little annotation at the end of this on what Crete's understanding of policy is for personal conveyance. You have off duty, and then you have signing out. Remember, signing out is always required if you put your truck in the shop for Crete and Schaefer. Always sign out, always sign out, always sign out. Can't stress that enough. So here we are, we're going to go off duty, right? I'm going to go to logs, and then I'm going to go to events. Scroll down to the bottom. Go right here to off duty, annotate, put in my note that I'm, training, ELD use. Submit. Ta-da. So there you go. You can see it on what I've done, and then I hit the done, and it's accepted. All right, so let's go. All right. On the paper logs, you had to sign it and everything like that, right? You had to put a trip number in, you had to sign it, and everything else. For ours, it's the certify button. You hit certify, it'll ask you for your password. I'm going to turn away for a second. Let's look back. See, there you go. I put in my password, right? And then hit agree. That's the same as signing your logs. I basically just signed my logs, okay? Now, every afternoon, we get a little message that says, hey, make sure you sign your logs every day and don't forget to request it. Well, let's see what happens when you request it. You go to options and request logs right there. So we hit request logs. Am I sure I want to request my logs? I sure am. What this does is this goes through and just double checks that you certified what needs to be certified and everything's done the way it needs to be done. So it's important that you do this. Now, here you go. You see mine came, this message comes up. There's nothing there. Bam. Because there's no little triangle here. Pacow. If there was, it would be seen. Okay? So that's how you log. You change duty status and make sure you're logging as you go. One more time, we'll look at the graph. There's our graph. Remember, line 1 at the very bottom here is your on duty. Then you got your drive line. You got your sleeper berth. And you got your off duty. With your off duty, you have a line 5 of off duty driving, which is in there. That's your PC. And we'll talk about that briefly in a second. Here you have events and details. Your details should be the same as on your paper logs. You would have to write down your daily total for miles and everything like that. So, you go through blah, blah, blah. Like we looked right here. Here's my distance driven today. 513 miles, 843. Not bad. So, not bad in a government truck, I should say. And then right here, you got your shipment IDs and everything like that. And then you got your trailer numbers. Now, I would go on duty and show you that, but I'm not going to do that just yet. Actually, I can because I can change it. Status, on, skip. All right. Now, if you look right here, there's a shipment ID, right? We're going to click on it. There's my current shipment ID. Bam. I don't want to check it because it remove it, but it will always be there. When you receive a new, for us, Crete and Schaefer, it will always be there. That should be the trip that you're on. If not, you can come and enter it here, hit the add button, and it'll go over there. Let's go home. Let's look right here, trailers. See, there's the trailer I had when I got here. We're going to remove it. Then I'm going to come over here and go, what trailer do I got? I currently have 840. Oh, what is that trailer number? 249? Yep, 249. Add, and there it is, and you hit the home key, and it saves it. Right? Now, I'm going to go status, off duty, because I just did all that. Now, logs. Now we get to do the infamous, oh, I'm on duty. I don't want to be on duty. I need to get rid of that. So we're going to events. Go all the way down. There you go. See? On duty. Bam. I touch it. I have this option right here. Delete. Reason for deletion. I didn't want to be on duty, so I'm making a correction. Right? So I made my correction. Bam. Submit. And it will go away. Look at there. It's gone. To check it, go to grid. It was there. It is no longer there. Now it's up there. Okay? That's how you do corrections. So, I know that was a lot of information, and I'll try to break it down a little bit more in future videos. If you have any questions about it, put them in the comments below, and I will answer them as best I can, either through email, text, whatever way I'm communicating with you, or I can do an add-on video after the fact. I have no problem sharing this knowledge, because there's definitely more stuff we can go over, including the 7-3-8-2 sleeper, split berth, all that good stuff. What do you do when you go home and how you need to log that? Any rules that go along with personal convenience, which we'll cover here in just a second. But I really want to say, remember this. I told you in the beginning, you got 70 hours to work in 8 days. If you break that down, that's 8 hours and 40 to 8 hours and 50 minutes every day. If you run like that, or at least close to those numbers, you'll be able to run every day without ever doing a reset. Okay? It is possible. I've done it several times. In fact, I'm in the process of doing it again. The key to this is good communication with your asset managers, good communications with the planners, and it's trip planning. You know, do you got to run a little bit more in the morning? Do you run a little bit more later in the evening? You know, some people run past the midnight Central Time. That, you know, I avoid that when I can, but I can make it work if I need to. The biggest thing is just understanding that you have to manage your clock as best as you can to keep productive. And that's the key to all this, is just being productive. If you communicate with your asset manager, you manage your clock well, your asset manager should make sure that you're good and taken care of. So log as you go, watch your recap hours every day. And here's a little secret rule. If you're gonna have 2 days, one's gonna be long and one's gonna be short, always make the long one first. Because in 8 days, when the recaps come back, your long day comes back before the short day. You gotta think about this stuff, okay? Be a master of time and distance. If you can do those things, you're well on your way to being successful with understanding your logs. Good luck. My name is Rob. I appreciate everybody paying attention and watching and whatnot. I hope you get something out of these videos. I will do more. I promise you these things are going to come, and they get better with time, okay? So without any further ado, I'm going to close this one out by telling you personal conveyance is to be treating your truck as if it was a car. You can go to Walmart on PC. You can go to the store, you know, any place you need to go on PC. Here's what you cannot do. You cannot go get your next load. You cannot run out of time and deliver your load. There are exceptions to those rules, and we'll go over those in the next video. And you cannot use PC to go home if you run out of time for the next video, I promise. So, with all that, I love you. Keep it rubber side down, shiny side up, and enjoy it.